This video is titled Packing Replacement and Plunger Inspection. Texan Pumps would like to remind you to always use eye and skin protection when working on this pump. We'd like to ensure that you have a replacement packing prior to disconnecting the pump. Packing should be about 1 inch in length and a mixture of both Viton and Teflon or any other acceptable mixture for your chemical compatibility.
We also recommend that you always use anti-seize compound to all parts that thread together, including where the head and yoke meet, where the yoke and hex bushing meet, and where the set screws are in the eccentric wheel. Any stainless to stainless connection should have stainless steel thread sealant, such as Loctite 567. Teflon tape is still used on the suction and discharge checks, as well as a bleeder valve, which is better for high pressure and sealing fluid.
First, we want to take a 3/16 Allen wrench and loosen the set screw on top of the pump head. You do not have to loosen it all the way, you can loosen it until the head spins freely. Next, you'll want to remove the cover, the plunger protector.
Then you'll want to loosen the set screw to the packing nut.
You can do the same as the top, loosen it until the head spins freely. You want to brace the pump, turn the head counterclockwise.
You'll back it out until the pump head is at the end of the threads.
Once you've reached the end, you'll brace the pump head in your hand while holding the pump steady with the other.
You'll want to pull straight back on the pump head while jiggling it slightly side to side or up and down.
Once the pump head is removed, set it aside. Then you'll check your plunger for any excess residue, scarring, or other types of damage. Once you've done so, you'll take a dry rag, wipe the plunger clean. Now that you've removed any excess material or abrasive material that could damage the new packing, move on to replacing the packing itself.
This process you'll begin by unthreading the packing nut and setting it aside. Please keep your packing gland, as it does not come with a new set of packing and you will need it to complete the process.
Set it aside with your packing nut.
For the next step, you'll want to use your pick and one by one remove the old packing and set it aside. While removing your packing, you'll want to check it for excessive wear or abrasive materials. If there are abrasive materials, you might want to check to make sure your strainer is clear off of your tank, and or check your MSDS for another compatible material. If you've forgotten to do so by this point, you'll want to take note of the direction that your packing was facing as you're taking it out. Notice the groove is downward and will be away from your thumb as you're putting the new packing in.
Clean out your pump head as you did your plunger to make sure there's no excess residue or abrasive material to ruin your new packing. Next, take the packing. It comes just like this. And one ring at a time, begin replacing your packing. Note that the groove or the V will be away from your finger and facing the other side of the pump head. Do not attempt to push the entire set of packing in at one time, as it will crimp or deform in some other way and you'll not receive a plunge or your packing will prematurely wear. Once you've put each individual ring in at a time, and you've reached your last ring, remember to replace your packing gland. Otherwise, your packing nut will bottom out onto the pump head. Next, take a blunt object such as a plunger
or any other object that will not damage the packing, preferably with a flat surface. Tap the packing down lightly around the edges.
Take your packing nut, thread it back in.
Up to this point, everything is hand tightened and you have successfully replaced your packing. Once that packing nut is snug, hand tightened, work it back onto the plunger.
Push it down until the threads meet, and then turn clockwise to thread the head back onto the yoke. Once the head is bottomed out on the threads, back it out until your suction and discharge check valves are vertical or straight up and down. Then you'll take your 3/16 Allen wrench and you'll retighten that set screw. Now, you do not want to tighten your packing until your pump is stroking. By doing so, you could over tighten your packing and inadvertently cause a problem.
I'm tightening this set screw now, assuming that the plunger is stroking and I've already set my packing. You will not want to do this until after your plunger is stroking and you have set your packing. Again, that's after you have snugged that packing nut onto the packing, not tightened, snugged. Now that I've shown you the conventional way to remove your packing with a pick, I'll show you how to remove your packing in the event that you do not have a pick. You'll want to use the same size plunger as your packing or a smaller plunger.
Again, loosen the set screw, counterclockwise, remove the head, take the packing nut off, mind your packing gland, and using a plunger in the center of the packing, a little side force, you can remove each ring one by one. And this will come in handy if you don't have a pick or another tool available. Same as the pick, you remove the packing, you clean the plunger, you check it for any abrasions or scarring, you clean out the pump head, and then you're ready to replace your packing. And one by one,
With a groove or the V facing away from your finger, you'll begin to replace your packing. Keep in mind that if you put your packing in backwards, you'll not receive a plunge or your desired injection rate. And remember to put your packing gland back in after your last ring of packing. Lightly tap the packing around the edges.
After you've done so, replace your packing nut, hand tight, and work the head back onto the plunger into the yoke. Once you've hit the threads, turn clockwise until the head bottoms out onto the yoke, and then back it off a turn until your suction and discharge checks are vertical or straight up and down. Then take your 3/16 Allen wrench and tighten your set screw.
Now I'll show you a short clip on a scarred plunger that needs replacing and how to properly set your packing while the plunger is in motion. Look for scarring or any of the damage to the plunger to determine whether or not the plunger needs to be replaced. A scarred plunger will not plunge properly. To adjust your packing, you're going to want to use a 5/32 or smaller Allen wrench. And while the pump is stroking, you want to grab that wrench at the base, not at the top, to decrease leverage so you don't over tighten the packing. And again, only tighten the packing when the plunger is stroking. Once it is snug, not tight, you've completed a full packing replacement and plunger inspection. Once you've adjusted your packing and it's snug, you will then snug the set screw onto the packing nut. Replace your plunger protector. You're now ready to turn your pump off, reconnect it, and set your injection rates. If you need further assistance, call your local Texam rep or the Texam headquarters.